a landmark decision in Oklahoma. A judge finds Johnson & Johnson played a substantial role in that state's devastating opioid crisis. Now, for the first time, a pharmaceutical company is being held accountable for what is one of the worst health epidemics in history. And here was that key moment.
The opioid crisis is an imminent danger and menace to Oklahomans. My judgment includes findings of fact and conclusions of law that the state met its burden, that the defendants, Janssen and Johnson & Johnson's misleading marketing and promotion of opioids created a nuisance as defined by 50 OS Section 1, including a finding that those actions compromised the health and safety of thousands of Oklahomans. Specifically, defendants caused an opioid crisis that is evidenced by increased rates of addiction, overdose deaths, and neonatal abstinence syndrome in Oklahoma. This is a temporary public nuisance that can be abated, and the proper remedy for public nuisance is equitable abatement. As I just stated, the opioid crisis has ravaged the state of Oklahoma. It must be abated immediately. For this reason, I am entering an abatement plan that consists of costs totaling $572,102,028.
This is really a landmark decision, and this is going to be studied in states across the country. There are dozens of states working to sue Big Pharma for the role that they say that those companies play in fueling the opioid epidemic that has killed hundreds of thousands of people in the last 20 years. Success for the state of Oklahoma, the first state to take a big pharmaceutical company to trial making those allegations. They claimed that Johnson & Johnson had created a public nuisance, one that cost the state billions of dollars and claimed thousands of lives. After 8 weeks of testimony, more than 100 witnesses, the judge said that the state had met its burden. Now, Erica, the state was seeking some $17.2 billion worth of abatement that would go toward programs within the state for prevention and treatment, other addiction services too. The judge in the end ordered $572 million, still a big number, not what the state was looking for. Not clear how exactly the judge came up with that number. He says if more money needs to be allocated to the crisis, it's something that legislators will have to take up.
Four nursing home workers in Florida are expected to turn themselves in this morning after the deaths of a dozen patients. The patients died of heat exposure after Hurricane Irma hit in 2017. At least two of the workers may face 12 counts of manslaughter. CNN's Nick Valencia is live in Hollywood, Florida with the latest here. Nick.
Good morning, John. They were among the most vulnerable, and authorities allege that they were neglected. According to the New York Times, 4 nursing home employees are expected to be charged later today with the deaths of 12 elderly residents who died here in the immediate aftermath of Hurricane Irma. We spoke to one of the lawyers for one of those expected to be charged, who said that his client was called last week by authorities and told that they had until today to turn themselves in. We expect those charges to include at least 12 counts of manslaughter for 2 of the employees. Now, it was September of 2017 when a criminal investigation was launched into this nursing home known as the Rehabilitation Center at Hollywood Hills. According to this nursing home, a transformer that powered its AC unit was damaged, leaving 141 elderly residents to brave near sweltering conditions. Temperatures hovered around 90 degrees. Now, at the time, some of those elderly residents were put in front of portable fans to try to keep them cool. but that simply was not enough. I mentioned 12 elderly residents died. They range in age from 71 to 99 years old. And Allison, this tragedy is further punctuated by the fact that a hospital is less than 100 feet away and a police department less than a mile away.
As far as Iran is concerned, President Trump and myself have had discussions in the last few weeks, and particularly in the last couple of days, and we agree that Iran needs to comply with its nuclear obligations and have responsible behavior in the Gulf and work with us. And there are two very clear things that matter to us. Iran should never have the nuclear weapon, and its situation should not threaten the stability of the region. France has taken a lot of different initiatives, and I've always informed President Trump on them to be able to get the technical means to move forward, because the decisions that the U.S. has taken in the last few months have put a lot of pressure and have put us in a situation where it is indeed necessary to improve the security situation of the region. So we coordinated our efforts, and we reached the decision to bring together the foreign ministers. Foreign Minister of Iran had a meeting with the French Foreign Minister, and a roadmap has sort of been set, but nothing is absolutely set in stone, and we will have to move ahead together to find an outcome. This morning, President Rouhani said that he was prepared to meet any political leader who, in the interest of his country. And that's what I told Minister Zarif, and this is what I mentioned to President Rouhani on the phone as well, that if he agreed to a meeting with President Trump, that my conviction was that an agreement can be met.
Excuse me? If the circumstances were correct or the right, I would certainly agree to that. But in the meantime, they have to be good players. You understand what that means. And they can't do what they were saying they're going to do, because if they do that, they're going to be met with really very violent force. We have no choice. So I think they're going to be good. I really think they'd like to. And by the way, President Macron told me every step that he was making yesterday. A lot of you said, oh, he came in. He told me long before he came in what was happening, I didn't think it was appropriate to meet yesterday, too soon, and things have to be worked out first. But President Macron told me exactly what was happening, who was coming, what time they were coming, where they were going to meet. And after the meeting, he told me exactly what happened. And I think he had a very positive meeting. Prime Minister Abe of Japan, also a large purchaser of oil from Iran, he was also very much involved. And, you know, look, he knows everybody there, so he was a very, very positive force. But I have to tell you, the president's done an excellent job, and we're going to see how it all turns out. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. I say it all the time about everything. Maybe it works, and maybe it doesn't. But I'll tell you what, we made a ridiculous deal. We gave him $150 billion, gave him $1.8 billion, and we got nothing. We got nothing. And by the way, that agreement was so short-term that it expires in a very short period of time. With a country, you don't make a deal that short. Countries last for long times, and you don't do short-term deals, especially when you're paying that kind of money. So I have good feelings about Iran. I have good feelings that it'll work. I know many Iranians living in New York City. I have many friends from Iran. They're incredible people, incredible people. So the last thing I'd like to see is a big problem, but we have to do what we have to do.